Most people in America are neither poor nor rich. They are simply stuck. Stuck between one paycheck and the next. Between the desire to change something and the feeling that they don't know where to start. And it's not because they are lazy, and not because they lack education. It's because no one has ever shown them a system. In this video, I want to show you exactly that system. Not life hacks, not secret investment strategies, not how to get rich in 6 months, but a real working plan for 80 days that will switch your finances from survival mode to growth mode. 80 days is a little over 2.5 months. It sounds like a lot, but in reality, it is the minimum period during which new habits are formed in the brain. Scientists from University College London found that, on average, a new habit takes 66 days to become established. We're taking 80, with some margin. Let's go. I've broken the plan into phases, because this makes it much easier to follow, without losing motivation. Phase 1. Days 1 to 10. An honest conversation with yourself. Before you change anything, you need to understand exactly what needs to be changed. And this is where most people make their first mistake. They skip this step because it's uncomfortable. Nobody likes looking at their bank statements. It's roughly like stepping on the scale after the holidays. Unpleasant, but necessary. So, the task for the first 10 days is to get a complete, honest picture of your finances. Open all your accounts, bank cards, credit cards, PayPal, Venmo, everything you have. Look at your expenses for the last 2 to 3 months. Then divide them into 3 columns. Column 1, what you must pay. Rent, utilities, insurance, minimum debt payments, groceries. This is your foundation. You can't do without it. Column 2, what you want to pay. Restaurants, coffee shops, Netflix, Spotify, Amazon subscriptions, Uber Eats, clothes. This is your lifestyle. Column 3, what you spend on without even noticing. That subscription you forgot to cancel 3 months ago. Random purchases at 2 in the morning. Small transactions that add up to a huge amount. Most people, when they do this exercise for the first time, say the same thing. I didn't think I was spending that much on this. And that's okay. This is not a reason to judge yourself. It's just data, and data can be worked with. By the end of the 10th day, you should have one key number: how much money you have left each month after all expenses. If this number is negative or close to 0, it's no big deal. That's exactly why we're here. If it's positive but small, great, you have something to work with. Phase 2, days 11 to 25. Operation Eliminate the Excess. There is one principle I call the visibility principle. People don't change what they don't see. When you see on the screen that you spent $320 on food delivery last month, you start making different decisions. But Operation Eliminate the Excess is not about giving up everything that brings you joy. It's about finding expenses that bring you almost no joy, but quietly leak out of your account every month. Here's how it works. Take your list of expenses from phase 1 and sort it from largest to smallest. Go through it from top to bottom and ask yourself one question for each category. If I had to pay for this in cash right now, straight from my wallet, would I still buy it? Psychologists call this the pain of paying. When we pay with a card or subscription, the brain barely registers the expense. When we hold actual bills in our hands, it registers very clearly. This simple question helps the brain see the real value of each purchase. Now, let's talk about specific categories. Subscriptions. Most Americans pay for an average of 8 or 9 subscriptions every month. Count yours. Which ones have you actually used at least once in the past month? Those you haven't used are candidates for cancellation. Do it right now. It will take 5 minutes. Insurance. This is one of the most underrated areas for saving money. Most people sign an insurance contract and never look at it again. But the insurance market is competitive, and companies regularly offer better deals to new customers than to existing ones. A simple phone call or using a comparison website can give you noticeable savings every month without losing coverage. Food. In America, this is one of the most flexible parts of the budget. The difference in food spending between 2 people with the same income can be 2 or 3 times. You don't need to stop going to restaurants. But if you reduce food deliveries from 5 times a week to 3, that's already a significant amount over the course of a year. Transportation. Uber and Lyft are convenient, but they quietly eat up large sums. Look at your transactions. Are there trips you could replace with a walk or public transport without much discomfort? The goal of this phase is not asceticism. The goal is to find $200 to $400 per month that are leaving your pocket without providing any real value to you. $200 a month is $2,400 a year. $2,400 is plane tickets, a contribution to an investment account, or paying off part of a debt. Small numbers stop being small when you multiply them by 12. Phase 3, days 26 to 40. A system that works without you. Here is one of the most important insights in personal finance. Willpower is an unreliable resource. Systems are reliable. People who rely on willpower to save money ultimately fail to save it. Not because they lack character, but because by the end of the month, when it's time to make the decision, save or spend, the brain has already run out of resources for decision making. That's exactly why there is a principle that financial psychologists call pay yourself first. The idea is simple. Your savings and investments should be transferred automatically, immediately after you receive your paycheck, before you have a chance to make any spending decisions. Set up automatic transfers. When your salary arrives, part of the money automatically goes to your savings account, part to your investment account, and what's left is what you can spend, not the other way around. Why does this work psychologically? Because the brain quickly adapts to what it considers normal. If you see $4,000 in your account, you spend like a person who has $4,000. If you see $3,200, you spend like a person who has $3,200. You don't feel the loss because the missing money was never in front of your eyes to begin with. This is the same principle used in corporate 401k plans. The money that goes into the retirement fund before you even receive your paycheck. You never notice it, but in 20 years, it turns into real wealth. How much should you automate? It depends on your situation, but if you can automate at least 10% of your income into savings and investments, you will already be ahead of most Americans. According to the Federal Reserve, nearly 4 out of 10 Americans would not be able to cover an emergency expense of $400 without borrowing. Automation won't solve everything, but it removes the weakest link, your mood at the end of the month. During this same phase, open a high-yield savings account if you don't already have one. The difference between a regular savings account and a high-yield one can be 10 to 15 times. Your money should be working, even while it's waiting. Phase 4, days 41 to 55. Deal with your debts. In America, debt is not an exception. It is the norm. The average American with credit card debt owes the bank about $7,000. Student loans, car loans, credit cards. Many people carry all of these at the same time. And here it's important to understand one key thing. Not all debts are equally dangerous. There is low interest debt. For example, a student loan at 4 to 5%. It's unpleasant, but not catastrophic. Then there is high interest debt, a credit card with 20 to 25% annual interest. This is a fire that needs to be put out first. Here's why. If you have credit card debt at 22%, every dollar you put toward paying it off gives you a guaranteed return of 22%. No investment offers you such a guaranteed rate of return. Make a list of all your debts. For each one, write down 3 things: the total amount, the interest rate, and the minimum monthly payment. There are 2 popular approaches to paying off debt. The first is to start with the most expensive debt, highest interest rate. Mathematically, this is the most advantageous path. You pay less interest overall. The second is to start with the smallest debt by amount, regardless of the interest rate. This is less optimal mathematically, but psychologically very powerful. When you close your first debt, you get a strong burst of motivation to keep going. Which one should you choose? It depends on you. If you are the type of person who is motivated by wins, even small ones, start with the smallest debt. If you are good at thinking long term and don't need quick victories, start with the most expensive one. One step that many people ignore: call your credit card company and ask if they can lower your interest rate. Just call and ask. Tell them you're a loyal customer and are considering other options. Some people get rejected, but a significant number receive a rate reduction, sometimes even a temporary one. This will take 10 minutes, and it can save you hundreds of dollars in interest. The worst thing that can happen is they say no. Phase 5, days 56 to 65. Investing, first steps. Here's the question I get asked most often: when should I start investing? The answer I give is after you have an emergency fund and no high interest debt, but not a day later, because time is the one resource in investing that you can never get back. Look at these numbers. If you start investing at age 25 and invest $200 a month at the average historical market return, by the time you're 65, you'll have approximately $500,000. If you start at 35, under the same conditions, you'll have about $200,000. A 10-year difference is worth $300,000. This is not magic. This is compound interest. Einstein called it the 8th wonder of the world, although historians debate whether he actually said it. But the point remains true. Now, about where to invest. I'm not going to give you specific recommendations on individual stocks or instruments. That's not my place, and every situation is unique. But there is one concept you need to understand: diversification. The idea is not to put all your money on one horse. Historically, a broadly diversified portfolio of American company stocks has shown an average return of 8 to 10% per year over long horizons. Not every year. There are drops. There are terrifying years. But over a 20 to 30 year horizon, it's a story of growth. Before you start putting money into a brokerage account, make sure you've taken full advantage of tax benefits. In America, there are tools, 401k IRA, that allow you to invest with tax advantages. If your employer offers matching contributions in a 401k, that is literally free money. Not taking advantage of it is like leaving part of your salary on the table. Start small. You don't need to wait until you have thousands of dollars. Even $50 a month is a beginning. What matters is not the amount. What matters is the habit. Phase 6, days, 66 to 75. Income has no ceiling. There is one truth that is uncomfortable to hear, but important to understand. No matter how much you save, saving has a floor. Income has no ceiling. You can reduce your expenses to a minimum, but you cannot reduce them below zero. You can increase your income almost indefinitely if you invest your time and effort correctly. This does not mean you should immediately quit your job and start a business. It means you need to start thinking about income as a variable you control, not as a fixed number. Here are 3 directions worth considering. First, your current job. When was the last time you asked for a raise? Studies show that people who change jobs every 2 to 3 years earn significantly more in the long term than those who stay in one place. The labor market is competitive. Your skills are worth as much as someone is willing to pay for them. Find out how much they pay for your position in other companies. Use that information. Second, additional income. Freelance work, consulting, selling unwanted items on Facebook Marketplace, or a side job on weekends. Even an extra $200 to $300 a month equals $2,000 to $3,500 a year. This money can be directed straight toward paying off debts or investing. Third, skill development. This is a long-term game, but the most powerful one. Skills in technology, sales, marketing, and data analytics. Their market value keeps growing. Mastering just one high-value skill can dramatically change your income. The task of this phase is to choose one specific action to increase your income and take the first step. Don't just think about it. Take the first step. Phase 7, days 76 to 80. A system for life. 80 days are behind you. That's quite a lot. But I want you to understand one important thing. Financial progress is not a project with an end date. It is a lifestyle. And in order not to lose everything you've built over these 80 days, you need a system to stay on course. The first element of the system is a monthly review. Once a month on the same day, for example, the last Sunday of the month, open your accounts and look at 3 things: how much came in, how much went out, and whether your savings and investments have grown. This will take 30 minutes. But these are 30 minutes that prevent you from losing control. The second element is a quarterly strategic session. Every 3 months, a deeper dive. You look at your net worth, the total of everything you own, minus all debts, and you answer the questions. Am I moving in the right direction? Do I need to make any adjustments? Have my goals changed? The third element is writing down your goals. It may sound banal, but it works. Research conducted by a professor of psychology at Dominican University of California showed that people who write down their goals and regularly report on their progress to others achieve them significantly more often than those who only think about their goals. Write down your financial goals for the year ahead, 3 goals for 5 years, 1 big goal for 10 years, and share at least one of them with someone, a friend, partner, or parents, or write it in the comments. Speaking of comments, if you've watched up to this point, I want you to write one word. System. Just system. I will read them. The final word. The financial life of most Americans looks like running in circles. Paycheck comes in. Paycheck goes out. You don't know where, and you wait for the next one again. 80 days is the time in which you can break this cycle. Not because you'll become rich in 80 days, but because in 80 days, you will build a system that will work for you for another 20, 30, or 40 years. Money is not the goal. It is a tool to have choice, to have time, to have freedom. Start from the first day, today. And if this video was valuable to you, watch the next one about how compound interest works and why the first $100,000 of capital is the most difficult and most important milestone. See you soon.